Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you're all doing very well. So today we're gonna talk about the topic of do self-harm urges ever fade or go away? This is a question I've been asked a lot, like a lot. And you guys know I like to base those types of video on studies or what the literature says and all of that, but sadly I couldn't find any scientific studies or scientific consensus on this topic. So for today I have to rely on the polls I did on Instagram and my own experience. Obviously this is not scientific consensus. It is not a scientific study or anything like that, it's just the best I could come up with, and I think it's already pretty good. But while I was researching for this video, I found a video from Pookie Naismith, this one. She's a therapist and has lived experience of self-harm, so this is the only other video that I could find on this subject. I will link it in the description and in the iCards, and I encourage you to go watch this video. But first off, let's talk about the polls I made on Instagram. So when I make videos about this type of subjects, I like to ask my followers on Instagram if they've ever lived this type of stuff, if they've ever had any experience similar to what I'm talking about. And as I couldn't find any scientific literature, this is what I did. So what I did is I made 7 polls plus a final one. And I asked people that were 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years and 10 years clean from self-harm, if they still had urges or not. And so here is the recap of the results. I'm not gonna show all of them because there were quite a bit and I don't think it's the most interesting thing in the world, but here it is for 1 month, so 96% still had urges. Here is for 6 months, so 94%, so still quite a bit. Here it is for 1 year, so the number has dropped to 90%. 3 years it's gone down to almost 80%, and 5 years it's down to 74%. So although the majority of all those people still had urges, you could see that the number that still had those urges would decrease with the time. But then, and this is the interesting part, at least to me, is that I then asked if those urges were lower or were less frequent or easier to manage and something like that. And then most people said that yes, they were getting easier. And we have to remember that this number encompasses people that have been 1 day clean and have been 10 years plus clean. So I think this is not necessarily the most representative of numbers, but I think it still shows the tendency that at least I can see, that with the time urges do decrease and get easier to deal with. And now for my own story. So I've been in recovery for, 6.5 years now. I've been self-harm free for something like 5 to 6 years, something like that. And do I still get urges? Yes, I do still get urges. Are they comparable to what they were when I was still self-harming? No, they aren't. Because now, even when I have a very strong urge, it's been so long that I don't really know how to explain it, but it doesn't seem like a possibility anymore. And with time, I've learned to cope with it, and they've also become less frequent. So from my own story and what I've seen over the years of being on Instagram and in YouTube and all of that, interacting with self-harmers daily for a few years, most people will still have urges, even 10 years down the line, even maybe 20 years down the line. But they will become less frequent and you will know how to deal with them, and they probably won't get less intense too. I really don't want this video to be discouraging people and to show, yeah, most of the time you still will have urges even years down the line, so maybe what's even the point of recovering? But those urges, the urges that still last afterwards, they are easier to deal with. Yes, they're still part of your life, but they're not the same anymore. This is not an excuse you can use not to recover from self-harm. You'll develop new routines, new coping skills, and when those urges do arise, you will be equipped to handle them. Alright, I think that's it for today. I hope you guys are all doing well. Tell me if you think the same that I do, or if you have a completely different experience. I'd love to hear that also. And I will see you very soon. Bye guys.